You are now tuned in to the #1 nursing podcast in the world, the Scrub Me In podcast by Nurse Junior and Anthony.
You are now tuned in to the #1 nursing podcast in the world, the Scrub Me In podcast by Nurse Junior and
Nurse Anthony.
Before we begin, make sure you like, subscribe, comment on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that. Tell a friend, tell another friend. You know how it goes.
Tell another friend.
And before we get started, shout out to all the nurses, RTs, doctors. Who else?
The healthcare heroes.
Healthcare heroes. I feel like we don't get enough of that every day.
That's it, man.
You know what I mean? So just shout out to everyone. We love you guys. We love you guys. Keep on pushing. Episode 16 right now. We got a special guest. He's going to introduce himself. Go on ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Ammoun. I'm a registered nurse. We actually went to school together.
Yes. University of Windsor.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for being on the episode
today.
today.
For coming, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So tell us about yourself. What brought you into the profession of nursing?
So for me, growing up, some of my family, a lot of my family went through different health scares, health concerns. My mom used to have a lot of kidney stones recurring, and I was in and out of the hospital with them all the time. And I remember just seeing how much the nurses cared and how much knowledge they were able to acquire. Like they were, the doctors were amazing too, but I felt like the nurses, they saw firsthand what was going on, and they could catch things, they could recommend things, and seeing what they were able to do and how much they were able to help my mom and my family, it inspired me to want to get into nursing.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the nursing field for? I know we graduated together, so that would be what,
2016 now?
8 years ago.
8 years.
Yeah.
Old heads now.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Specialties. What specialties have you been a part of since, graduating to now?
So my first job out of school was actually in the ICU.
In the States?
Yeah, in the States, at Beaumont. So,
wow.
So it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. You learned so much so quick. And I felt like in nursing, the cool thing about nursing is there's so many different areas you can get into.
Right.
And I felt like I really enjoyed it, but I did it for a time. And then I said, I feel like I want to explore some other areas. So then I went into the OR, which I really loved as well. Did that for a little while. I became a kidney transplant coordinator for a little while.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was really neat.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, every area has its, its pros and cons to it, and you get different work-life balance. So that was my key. Was like, hey, how can I have a good balance here? And eventually, what I ended up in, what I really loved the most, was actually psychiatry.
Oh.
Yeah, so I ended up working in psych, and I work primarily with kids and teens.
Yeah.
And
This is at Beaumont, though?
This was, so Beaumont ended up opening up a place called Beaumont Behavioral Health.
Okay.
And also when I was in Toronto, I worked at a place called Youthdale. So it was right downtown Toronto, and they took care of the needs of all the kids down there. And I just loved it. I felt like, especially in mental health, especially nowadays, you could really help make some really positive changes if you get to the people when they're young.
For sure.
Right? And giving them the right coping strategies. And so to see that progression and that change and how that also affects your physical health, that's where I started connecting, okay, how is health a mind, body, spirit thing, and how is it all interconnected?
Right.
And which inspired me to go into even further, further my career.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So what are you up to these days?
So I officially started working as an osteopath. So for the last 4 years, I've been in osteopathic school at the Canadian Academy of Osteopathy.
That's in Toronto?
It's in Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Congrats on that.
Shout out Steel City, baby.
Yeah.
I think you lived in Hamilton for a bit, right?
For a long time, yeah.
It's a great place, and the food scene is amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't quite amazing when I lived there, but apparently it's on the up and up now.
Oh, you got to go back. Yeah, it's a great place. Yeah. So it was the school is amazing. Robert Johnston runs the school. He's an amazing principal, amazing osteopath. He brought real osteopathy back to the world, essentially, because it started way back in the day, in the late 1800s. It was really going strong until about 1940s, and then the pharmaceutical companies kind of came in, and people were more into the medications and stuff. So the final osteopaths moved over to Europe, and then my principal, thank God, he went over to Europe, learned from them, brought it back. So now it's making a big wave. It's coming back strong.
So for people that may not know what osteopathy is, can you kind of break it down a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So osteopathy is it's a manual therapy. So we look at all the tissue layers of the body, from the skin, fascia, neuromuscular layer down to the ligamentous articulations of the bones. And our goal and our job is to find out where there's restrictions in movement in the frame of your body, to remove those obstructions. It could be like a torsion or compression or tension strain, and that will help create like a better flow of blood through the vasculature, through the arteries, through the veins, through the lymphatic system, help nerve function work at its optimal level. So when you have everything working like that, it balances your nervous system. It helps with your organs digesting, your heart and your lungs, brain function. And I've personally seen like amazing results from it. I actually, my goal was to go to med school. So I applied for med school. I got into med school. And then my buddy was in his second year of this program. And I had old sports injuries and martial arts injuries that no one could fix. I tried everything.
Right.
I go to my buddy after 3 treatments from him. It's different for everybody.
For sure.
I was completely fixed. And I was in awe.
Wow.
I was like, what the heck? Like my old shoulder, knee, back pain, all of it fixed up.
Yeah.
So I sent my friends, I sent my family. Every one of them started getting better. And I'm like, wow, like people are coming in and they're getting better.
They're seeing results.
That's it. Yeah.
That's interesting because I have a lot of old sports injuries that primarily like my back and my hips.
Yeah.
That I've gone to Chiro and physio for. And listen, I feel a lot better than I used to. I'm not going to say, but they're so reoccurring that this is like something that's very interesting for me.
It is,
Just talking about it.
For sure. And everything has its place too. Like I work at a clinic now called Unified Health and Wellness. My company, that I started is called Life to the Fullest Osteopathy.
Okay.
And the reason I chose that name is because, when we're in pain, we're not able to be fully present. It's always, it can affect your mental health. It can affect your spiritual health, definitely affects your physical health. But when you're in alignment, when we put all the structure back to where it's supposed to be, and we allow the body to self-heal and self-regulate the way it was designed to, you can live your life to the fullest. You can have that full life again. And so I've now partnered with a great clinic called Unified Health and Wellness. We have some amazing chiropractors. We have some amazing massage therapists. We even have a social worker, to help with mental health. So it's awesome. A really great place and some great people. And I always say, you got to find out what works for you, right? You got to find the right therapist in the right area. And but I can say, like from my own experience and from a lot of other people's testimonies, osteopathy has been absolutely amazing for me. So yeah, if you ever need anything, let me know.
I'll let you know. I probably will.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you feel like there is anything or that there was value in your nursing degree that you were able to bring into osteopathy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was, I feel, you have to see everything. Everything has its place. At the end of the day, God forbid, if I get my arm chopped off, I'm going to the hospital. I'm getting morphine. I'm getting,
Of course.
Like if there's a surgery or something that's needed.
Could you imagine you get your arm cut off? Yeah. Let's just align your back. You'll be all right.
That's like I said, everything has its place. Like this is a very proactive form of healthcare that can prevent a lot of tertiary issues.
For sure.
But even the tertiary issues, this can minimize it. So let's say I do really need a certain medication. Well, it's possible that through osteopathy, like maybe I don't need as high of a dose, or maybe by talking to a nutritionist, I can change my diet a bit, and then I can have A, B, and C medication. I don't need D, or whatever it is, like all these other medications. So it's all about finding, okay, what's the best thing we can do? Let's fully inform people with all of their options, and then kind of go from there, right? So yeah, everything has its place, and I like the option of like, okay, what can I do proactively, and then if I need to, I can go to this, and that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So do you guys prescribe medication at all in osteopathy?
No, we don't prescribe any medication, no.
Okay, so the reason I'm kind of liking this too is because this goes to a conversation we had in a recent episode where my personal opinion, this is just me, I feel like not enough people want to actually improve their health. Now, what I mean by that is you have to go out and do the work.
Yeah.
You don't want, if you're a type 2 diabetic, you don't want diabetes, you get out there, you change your diet, exercise a little bit, and things will change.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think all too often people rely on medication, pharmaceuticals and things they're just expecting it to fix them when that's not really the case. And what I'm liking about what you're saying is I think for people, like, you have to go out there and find an osteopath or a naturopath even for some people and do a little bit of the work in order to improve your physical and mental health. and in the hopes that eventually we can get you off of these medications. Yes. I think that would be, I don't know, something really useful for a lot of people, you know?
Absolutely. And that's really our philosophy in osteopathy. Like in osteopathy, we always think, okay, what is the root of the issue? What's the root of the problem?
Right.
Your body may be presenting something. Like I used to have a lot of shoulder pain. And I'm like, okay, well, so I go after the shoulder and I take medications, but those medications are now like, okay, it's hurting my kidneys, it's going to be hurting my liver long term.
Right. Side effects.
Right? Temporarily, it's fine. Like sometimes, like, you know, every now and then I'm going to, if I have a really bad headache, I'm going to take a Tylenol, no worries.
Of course.
But I'm like, hey, what's the actual issue?
Yeah.
So it was funny because when my buddy went and worked on me, the way the body is so connected, like from down to your toe all the way up to your head through fascial connections and muscular connections. And so he ended up finding an issue in my hip, fixed the hip, fixed the rotation of my hip, and the shoulder just let go. Yeah. It had nothing to do with the shoulder.
Wow.
It was a connection through the musculature and the fascia into my hip. And once that was fixed, but it was presenting here. So the pain was showing up here, the root cause was here, and I haven't had an issue since.
Wow, that's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But you're right. And you think about like, and that philosophy of getting to the root of the issue, it doesn't have to be just a physical thing.
Right.
It's, it's a mental thing too.
Absolutely.
Think about society nowadays as opposed to 100 years ago. What kind of work we do now? Back in the day, everyone was mostly outside.
Absolutely.
A lot of physical labor.
For sure.
We had healthier food.
I was about to say diet was totally different. For sure.
There wasn't modified foods and all that. So we wonder how does that affect our mental health too? And even and as wonderful as technology is, and everything is a tool, can be used for good, right? It's also made us kind of lazy too, in a sense of, we get quicker answers, we get quicker results.
Absolutely.
So how does that affect our mental health? Mm-hmm. There are some times where we have to go through things, we have to struggle a bit, or we have to wait to see the progression.
For sure.
It's like anything worth getting in life. Look at our nursing degree, how hard, that was a hard program.
Super hard, man. That's shit. If I could go back in time and redo it again, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
I would not do it again.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would.
I feel like I got PTSD after that shit. I'm not going to lie. Some days I'll be waking up in the morning, I'm like, oh shit, I got class. Or like I be hearing like call bells.
That's all the time.
It's an issue.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man, there's times where I wake up and I'm just like, I got to answer the phone, and I'm like, I'm not at work.
Yeah.
I'm
like,
off today.
What's going on?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
That's crazy.
Still having those dreams that I have an exam, I didn't study for it, and I'm in my underwear. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on?
Wait, I'm 30.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Exactly.
This is true stuff right here that we talking about.
Yeah. But I think you guys can agree with this. Like, the cool thing about the nursing program, because each program at the university has its benefits, but it's more like, okay, we're studying more theory and you're going to take more tests. One is like we're going to do more papers. One is like, we're going to do a lot of co-op. Nursing is all of that.
Yeah.
You are, you're doing clinicals, you're doing papers, you're studying theory. You have to know pharmacology. You are doing everything.
Absolutely.
And we're doing, also like with the clinicals, we're working for free. We're doing midnight shifts sometimes.
Absolutely.
Studying for these exams. So it tests you and it pushes you and creates such a perseverance in you that, honestly, like, it's really helped prepare me for so many things in life.
For sure.
Things that I think back in the day would have like shook me to the core. They now kind of, they just kind of like, and it helps me prioritize so that when I'm at work, we're so well trained that we respond and we focus, and then the emotional side comes later. Like, it could be a couple weeks later, or however it is. I think it's very important to have good outlets.
For sure.
So that you don't take things home with you, that you're able to process the things, the feelings. Feelings aren't bad to have, but you want to let them in, identify them, validate them, and then you release them.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah. So that's a really nice way of putting it.
So let's transition into that nursing school. How was that for you, as well as the clinical experience throughout your 4 years?
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I wanted to get into as many areas as I could. So I made sure I got into like OB. I got into, a lot of like telemetry, renal, respiratory. I did as much as I could. And it was interesting because when I was in obstetrics, I got to see 14 births. Like,
what?
Yeah, I know, and it's unheard of.
My guy got one.
Yeah.
Man,
Listen, luckily.
So my OB placement, I saw 0 births.
That's crazy.
Did we talk about this?
Yeah,
on the
we did.
podcast?
I thought your teacher forced you into one or something.
Yeah.
Finally.
So very quickly, it was on one of the episodes. I was in my OB placement. you know me, I'm a tall 6'3", high top at the time, earrings. I'd walk in with my professor. Hi, I have a student here, and the husband will go, no, we don't want a male. And I'm like, at the time, I didn't care because, well, I can't do my journal miss. I can't do my CEs or whatever they're called. I guess I can't do anything today. So I'm mainly just chilling, doing nothing really at that placement. It was a smooth placement. But then it got to the point where I'm talking to a lot of the guys in the program, and they're like, yeah, I saw a birth, I saw a C-section. I'm like, damn, I wish I saw one now.
So I got 14.
You had 14.
It was.
So now I move into consolidation, which is like the summertime where you have to stay in school for the month and do your more hours. So I think I was on oncology, and I think her name was Professor Giannotti. She pulled me off from the unit and goes, Junior, I heard that you hadn't seen a birth. Let's go right now. I have a mother that's willing to have you in the room. So I saw a vaginal birth and I saw a C-section.
That's cool. Yeah. It's important to see. It's cool to see both.
Oh yeah.
To see that, because sometimes people have the vaginal birth scheduled, but then there's a complication. And this is what I mean about it's good to be in the hospital for certain things, because if something goes wrong, and I know nowadays they also have different. They have a lot of different options where you can still do more of a natural birth and have a doula, but they still have the setting in a hospital, which is cool. Or you can still do like a water birth, which I'm a fan of the natural, stuff too.
We did midwives for our kids.
Nice, that's awesome.
It was really cool. Yeah.
It's
so we had the option of doing it from home, and then the option, because they have hospital privileges as well.
Awesome.
So our first, we had to go to the hospital. And again, that's where the hospital is obviously a great tool to have. We learned a lot from that experience, and then our second, we were actually able to have it home.
That's
so
awesome.
It was really awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, and I also think about like back in the day, like there was no hospitals.
That's
like,
right.
More people did this,
or they were just so far apart and it was harder to travel. Like, what do you do?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a great experience. I don't know what happened. I'm very grateful for the experience. I went in. I would try to speak to the dad and the mom, and for some reason it just kind of worked out. And I kind of hung out with dad, and making sure that he didn't faint. And I was very respectful and kept my distance. But like, there was times I got to cut the umbilical cord about 5 times.
What?
Yeah, they told me.
That's crazy, bro.
As a second-year nursing student?
Yeah. They're like, your Uncle Tony, and I'm in people's pictures and whoever's out there.
You're in the videos, yeah.
I'm there, and what an awesome.
Uncle Tony, I'm always up.
Hey, to all the 8-year-olds, say hi to Uncle Tony. This is your camera, That's crazy. Yo, I love to hear it, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That wasn't beyond our scope of practice back then?
I know. I was shocked. I was like, am I allowed to be doing this?
They ingratiated you into the family in a big way. That's hilarious.
Christmas dinners, Thanksgivings. He's all in there, man.
Junior can't even get in the hospital.
I can't even get in the room, man. That's nuts. I respect it, though. I respect it.
Yeah, it's great. And, it's nice to see, because the last thing I did before I, fully transitioned into osteopathy was palliative care and med surg.
Cool.
And, and it's a privilege to be with someone during their transition, into whatever, we believe, the afterlife or into death or, but also, working with kids and working in OB, like, seeing the opposite end of like life coming in.
Oh, for sure.
It was awesome. It was really cool. And it's very interesting, talking to the families about the thought process they have of like, it brings you into a new realm of thinking of like, not to get too deep in it, but it's like, what is life? Like seeing life leave and seeing life come in, man, you just kind of get deeper in that, in the spiritual aspect of it. But it is pretty neat. I love seeing both ends of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. 4th year nursing school.
Yeah.
We had community placement. Where were you placed for that?
Believe it or not, I was actually at a church.
Yo, you guys all had the weirdest places. What? How do they find these places?
We had a guest, Jamie. He was in our year. He was at a mushroom. Was it?
Mushroom farm.
Mushroom farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was no nurses there.
Like
his preceptor was like a social worker or something like that.
Yeah.
So you were in the house of God. Tell us about that.
I think Ange was in like some Christian, like a Christian Horizons type, and it was just like, what? This is anyway.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead. What was your place?
Yeah. So no, I there was a lady there in the church who was a nurse, and she'd been a nurse for she was well into her 80s, and she was still kicking and fiery.
In the church?
Damn. Yeah. She was part of the ministry there, and so I just shadowed her and we worked with a lot of the senior citizens in the church, and I think it was more of a social, like mental health kind of thing we did.
Sure.
But we did education too, about like diabetes and all that stuff. Taking people's blood pressure, all that kind of thing, just educating the community. But it was very moving, to see, there's some people there who they don't really have anyone to talk to. Like this is this is their social moment of the day, and they have a wealth of knowledge to share with you.
For sure.
So when I was really young, I worked at a retirement home, a nursing home, as a dietary aide. I even did work at Christian Horizons for 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
During school to help get through school.
Yep.
So it was cool. I like I said, I like to see every angle I can. I like to know as much as I can, to have as much perspective as I can. I think it's a very important thing just as a human to create like well-roundedness, to create balance within yourself. So I was like, yeah, let's go anywhere. We'll go to the OR, or we're going into the community, or yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that you worked in Detroit.
Yes. Yeah.
How was that dynamic from Windsor to Detroit?
Well, it was pretty cool. Like, so my cousins grew up in 7 Mile.
Okay.
So my whole life, so I was always like in and out of 7 Mile.
Yeah.
And so like I always I love Detroit. Like I love Detroit. I love the people. I love the culture. I feel like, it's funny when I would go there, every now and then, like my little Canadian accent would slip up. Like what? Like call like a shopping cart a buggy. Like a buggy. What are you talking about? Run away with a couple bags of milk. I'm sorry. But
that's funny.
Oh, it was so nice going over there, and like I guess the difference I would say, like obviously working in Windsor has been amazing too, but I don't know. I feel like things are just a little bit more updated there. You can get full time there pretty quickly. I'm not really sure what the dynamic is in Windsor right now. I'm not sure how.
Not great.
No, I didn't think so.
Definitely not great.
Actually, can I tell you a quick story?
Absolutely. 100%. That's what we're here for.
Oh, so I think it was the first time we went into the hospital. So my sister is a nurse as well.
Oh, nice.
And
you need to get her on the podcast.
Yeah. So I go up. I remember it was at Ouellette campus. And I go up to the med-surg unit, first time in the med-surg unit, and I see the chaos. I see everyone running around. And then I remember that our professor saying, you take the files, but make sure if the nurses need them, you give them back. So I'm just like trying to get a hold of a file to get my patient information and all this. I take one look, and everyone's just in such disarray that I'm like, and I go on the elevator, I go back downstairs. I sit in the waiting room, and I get on the phone with my sister. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm quitting nursing. She's like, no, don't quit. Trust me, stick to it. It's going to be worth it. I'm like, okay. Like, so she actually like kept me back in, and I thank God I did. Because once I got in, and once you get used to it, like I said, it builds your character.
For sure.
It builds a strength in you that we need to have. Like I said, I can handle so many things in life now, and it still hurts certain things, but you know you're going to get through it.
For sure.
You're like, no, we can get through this.
Absolutely.
And it builds you. It builds your character. So
definitely does, man.
Absolutely.
Nursing is very mental. It's very
yeah.
mental. If you have that mental, you can get through it completely.
For sure.
If you could choose, like, of all the specialties you've worked as a nurse, or even ones that you haven't that you think look interesting, if you could choose one, what do you think it would be?
Honestly, I would do psych again with kids.
Yeah.
Teens. Yeah. That working in Detroit with the kids was my favorite job.
Yeah.
I loved it. And, some of the kids grew up in really harsh environments where they can't be kids. They got to be adults.
For sure.
Some of them are walking around. They have to carry a gun. They have to carry a weapon to protect themselves. Yeah. And so when it's interesting when they come into the unit, we give them a safe environment to be a kid again.
For sure.
And you see someone who's like real like hardcore. All of a sudden, we give them an art project, and they just like their inner child comes alive.
Of course. And
then you build relationships. So for me, I never sat behind the desk. I was always with the kids. We'd be playing basketball, playing soccer, throwing the football around. I'd be helping them with homework. We'd be playing games, and we'd eat together. And in those moments, after you build a relationship, that's when they'd open up. That's when you see the layers come back. Yeah. And, they found out, like, hey, there is another way. Like, I don't have to respond this way to this. And that's where I come to the coping strategies and all that. To see that, like, there was days I would stay later. There was days I would come in, the kids would be like, Tony, you coming back tomorrow? I'm like, okay, I'll come back. Can I come? Like, yeah, of course. Like, we were short-staffed. Get in here. Yeah. So I didn't want to leave. Like, that was the hardest. I know, I had to finish school, and exams were coming up, all that stuff. So eventually I had to, it was my time to go. But if I go back, I can see myself in some way creating some type of environment that just really helps kids in our community who don't have anybody.
Yeah.
Because we need that. There's a lot of people out there who don't have that love or that care, and I think we gotta invest in our community. We gotta invest in our people.
I agree.
Was this in Detroit you were working?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever worked like in Canada or?
I did, yeah, in Toronto. Yeah, right downtown
really?
Toronto, yeah.
Oh yeah, you did mention Toronto. How was that transition? Was that your first time ever being like living in Toronto?
Yes, yeah. I visited a lot of times. I lived in Scarborough, and then I lived in
Scarborough,
yeah.
East Side. Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, it's Kanji Queen. You know where Kanji Queen is?
Not too familiar, honestly.
Okay, yeah. It's it was.
You seem excited to mention it, so let's hear what
I used to go there all the time. It
It?
was a great Asian restaurant. My friends and I always went there, or we'd go to this pho place nearby too. So yeah, Scarborough was a cool place, and then I lived in North York.
Okay,
But I would drive downtown to work all the time. Like
How was that?
It was nuts. Everyone's like, just take the subway, just take the subway. But I'm so used to living like driving.
Of course.
That's like it's weird because it's like traffic's crazy, but I have like this like routine. It's like my car is my sanctuary. I put on some music. I mentally prepare myself. I don't really mind being stuck in traffic because it just preps me, or it helps me wind down.
Right.
After I'm done a long shift.
Yeah.
But so I wouldn't get in my car. But sometimes it's like, okay, it's about 35 minutes to get to work. Coming home is like an hour and 30 minutes.
For sure.
But do you guys live in Toronto? You ever go to Toronto?
Yeah, I'm originally I was born in Atlanta and then I moved to Toronto, Rexdale.
Nice. Okay.
I lived in Rexdale up until I came to Windsor for school.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah, but the thing about Toronto right now is, especially in downtown, you miss that turn, you're gonna be late additional 20 minutes.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Like there's no getting back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
No, I
that's the
know.
one thing. So you were driving down.
Yeah.
You had to pay for parking?
I literally was just about to talk about that. So I would do 12-hour shifts, but there was a parking garage nearby that was, and this was back in 2017, or I think it was, or 2018. I believe, but back then, before all the huge inflation and everything,
Right.
it was $38 for 8 hours.
Wait. Back then?
Yeah.
That's good?
That's horrible.
That's horrible. No, I'm saying that's horrible.
Okay.
That's horrible. I was like, oh my. And then I still had to move my car and find another place like to park because there was a limit on how long you could stay.
After that 8 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So I was paying so much money to do that. So funny enough, what a lot of people do in Toronto, at the time too, it was better. I would do Uber as well as do my nursing show on the way. You could pin it at the time where I'd be like, okay, I'm on the way to work. I could pick someone up, drop someone off that's on the same path. Or on the way home, I pick someone up. So then you make a little bit of money to help pay for that or to help pay for gas. But the funny thing was when I came to Windsor and I ended up working at Olette, HR was, they're like, okay, just so you know, like, parking is $17 a month. Is that going to be okay? I'm like, yeah, I guess that'll be okay. And I'm like, unlimited parking. I'm like,
that's a little too much for me. I was just paying double in Toronto.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
It's crazy. And then everything you do in Toronto, it's like you said. Let's say you want to go to the gym. Let's say you want to go grocery shopping. Well, sometimes you got to park your car. You got to pay for the parking. If you leave your car in the wrong place, you're getting towed.
Facts.
$600 later, you're getting parking ticket, $150. Like, it's just, there's so much time being consumed. So for me, growing up here and kind of having that nice balance of like the city and kind of the county life, I missed it. So it gave me a whole new appreciation for Windsor coming back. Like, I think I needed to do that. It was great for what it was, and some people can do it. But for me, I need a little bit more, like, 15, 20-minute drive to work is better than...
Yeah. Okay, so one question I did want to ask. Obviously, since school, you've been so busy and everything. Have you had a chance to, like, grow your family or anything like that? What's going on in your life?
So that's actually... I've done a lot of schooling. So before I did nursing, I did 4 years of business school.
Really? I didn't know.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I graduated in HR and loved it. It was great. It was through that was another way. Like, I was working in a field with internationally trained doctors and nurses trying to get their Canadian license, and I was finding them co-ops and everything. And through that process, it inspired me to want to get into healthcare too.
Oh my goodness.
So that's when I made that whole like discovery to go through that. But so basically, I've done 13 years of post-secondary education.
Oh my God.
Yeah, with a goal in mind. I knew I would use the business, I would use the nursing, and now I combine it all into osteopathy because helping to like running my business,
For sure.
having medical knowledge, and proactive healthcare knowledge. It all comes because I get, patients coming in and they're on certain medications. So I know they have had certain surgeries. I know what those are.
Yeah.
So I know how to, plan out my assessment and my treatment process.
Yeah.
So it's all come together, thank God, because but it's been a long time. So all that to say, long story longer.
Yeah.
I haven't really had time to build a family. I have my immediate family, my parents and my siblings and all that. But now I've created and designed my life so that I can create my own schedule.
Right.
When I do eventually, meet the special lady and, God willing, have kids one day, I'll be able to, go to the games and go to the recitals and do all that stuff, be there for them how they need me. And that's all what I've always wanted, because I really do believe in a good, work-life balance. At the end of the day, you can always make money.
For sure.
Definitely.
They're all gonna, you can, before your obituary is posted, they're gonna have your job posted. So I say, you know what, I'm gonna do the best when I'm at work. When I'm at work, I'm 100% there.
Yeah.
I turn on and I leave whatever I need to leave at the door. I'm there for the patients, very patient-centered focus, to give them the best experience possible, because it's a hard thing to go through, right?
Yeah.
So something as simple as talking to them or listening, making them feel heard, this is why the mental health aspect really helps a lot, right? Like they're sitting there staring at those four walls all day long. They can they can tell you how many towels are on the floor. They know what's up. So
absolutely.
But when I go home, I want to be fully present with my family, and also having time for yourself.
For sure.
To recharge, finding what you love, finding what makes you come alive is so important.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love to see in people. Even if I don't know nothing about it, it excites me. Like I can tell you guys are very passionate about what you do, and I'm honored to be here on the podcast. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing up.
You have great energy, and it excites me. It gets me going.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. So yeah, I'm no family yet, but one day.
Question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to ask, how old are you? Because you seem like you're in your...
You got 30 years of school.
Yeah.
But you look like you're 30.
Yo, like you look so youthful. Like what is the key?
Seriously, I agree.
Like you don't look stressed at all.
No.
Thank you. I am an 80s baby. I'm 37 years old.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
You don't look it.
You don't look it at all.
Yeah,
Thank
seriously.
you.
I would have
appreciate that.
guessed I was like a couple years older than you until you said you were in school for 13 years. I'm dead serious.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very fortunate. My family, I guess they have, my parents look very youthful, and my dad still has like dark black hair, and
That's crazy, bro.
Good genes.
Cool.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, so I was going to say a couple things that you had touched on kind of like resonated in terms of, so, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have kids. I love my kids to death.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting when you say, like, you need to figure out what even you like.
Yes.
Along with that, I think for a lot of people that have kids a little bit younger, that gets lost because you're like, I need to take care of this child.
Yep.
I don't have time for myself or to figure out. And a lot of the time, people aren't done school. They're still in school. They're trying to juggle 100 different things. And then when you throw a kid into the mix or a partner into the mix, it just becomes like you get lost in that shuffle.
Oh, for sure.
So I think that's one thing that's really beneficial about doing it the way you've done, where you've prepared your life for what will come for after.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know what? I will say, like, what I've learned, it's important not to compare too much, and comparison can be the thief of joy.
I agree.
I think every path is unique and special, and I think you can learn something through everything in life. I really do believe you need a good mentor. You need people, comrades who are going through things that you're going through, because, like, as nurses, we have an understanding with each other that, like, other people won't fully understand. Like, and we understand, like, it's okay that they don't. They're not supposed to. But then also having someone to share and to teach. When you have those three elements, I find it really does make you like a well-rounded person.
Oh, you feel fulfilled.
Oh, yeah. And you can learn, like, kids are wonderful. That's why I love working with kids. I think that kind of gave me that element of, of being with kids. It's because I've always wanted my own kids, but until that happens, that also develops your perseverance and develops your character, and it does help you get to know yourself on such a deeper level.
Oh, absolutely.
And develop such a responsibility. So congratulations to you for the family. I'm happy.
Yes, that's interesting that you say that, because I think that's been the biggest thing for me, and thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's been realizing where I still need to grow as I'm a father. You know what I'm saying? And where a lot of my shortcomings are. And even in the moment, I can mentally think about it where it's like, this is something I need to work on, and this is something that I need to reflect on as I'm trying to like teach and mentor this young child, you know? So
Sure.
it's really, really an interesting thing.
Absolutely. And and Anthony, I just want to say too, like I'm proud of you, man, because
Thank you.
that self-awareness,
Yeah.
self-reflection is key. Because we're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
We're going to make mistakes. But setting the right expectations and forgiving ourselves, I mean, it's okay, because it's important for kids to see, hey, like dad or mom, like they made a mistake, but they're reflecting on it. They're owning it. That teaches them. It's not always what we say. It's what we do.
For sure.
And it's like, oh, so you don't got to be afraid. Because I think sometimes it's very easy to want to be, I want to be perfect for them. I want to be the best for them. I got to be so strong for them. But it's like, they need to see your strength and they need to see your weaknesses as well. And to know that, like, it's not about you got to overcome all this. It's about, what am I doing to always be better? Because until the day we die, we're going to be learning.
For sure.
We're going to be growing. It's being willing, communicating, but also being able to comprehend one another. Mm-hmm. Because I can communicate with you all day. If you can't comprehend what I'm saying, and that takes empathy. Yeah. And I can sense that you guys have that. So I appreciate that. Yeah, you should be proud of yourself.
Man, that's awesome.
No, thank you.
Jesus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was saying this off camera. I love the way Tony puts things together. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
God damn, you're touching me, bro.
I'm deep in, I'm deep in thought right now.
No Diddy.
This is not lube.
It's not baby oil. It is not Johnson & Johnson.
Not purchased at Costco. Don't worry. Oh, that is funny.
Wow.
You had a question?
Yeah. So working in psych, any interesting stories that you can share with us, or crazy stories?
Obviously, no names.
No names. Yeah.
Confidentiality is important. It's so interesting seeing different types of mental illnesses and diseases and how it affects people. And I feel like certain areas in nursing, there is a shelf life for certain fields. I've heard them say in the ER, like 5 years, like then switch it up. And then you can go back later, but like you gotta like, because once you're consumed and you only see one thing over and over, that starts to become your reality. You start to think the whole world is like this. So, and don't get me wrong, I had amazing time in psych, and I still would go back into it, but I had to make sure I had good outlets, because, when we're seeing over 60 cases a day of some of the saddest things you could imagine, like think of the worst thing you could imagine, multiply that by 10.
For sure.
And you're like, okay, how can I approach this and still be positive for this kid who just went through this crazy trauma? And then you think about your own family, your own kids, and the world, and you still want to, you got to live in the world, but you have to be, you just got to create some wise, have some wisdom to know how to operate in it. You can't hide yourself from the world, but you got to know how to operate in it. And, but yeah, it's, there was a lot of days where you'd see someone with like paranoid schizophrenia, or someone in a manic state, and they're hallucinating, they're seeing something, and to them it's real. Yeah. They're really seeing that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So how do you approach that and tell them like, oh, it's not real? You have to find creative ways to speak to them, to help them feel heard. Mm-hmm. And once they do, that can help calm them down like quite a bit. So, not to get into too much detail, but I've seen people literally like here, like putting holes in walls and everything. And I had people a foot taller than me, like football player sized people. For sure. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in here, and I'm just like praying to God for help. And I'm like, but I just go in, and what I do believe is in life, we can be a thermostat or a thermometer. Mm. So as a thermometer, we're just responding to everyone's energy, and we're responding to, are they happy or are they sad? But as a thermostat, you go in and you set the temperature.
You control the tempo, yeah.
You be the calm mind in an uncalm situation. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I've seen miraculous things happen. To the point where people are swinging on the walls, and all of a sudden I say, hey, man, like, I'm here for you. Like, what do you need? Like, talk to me. And the next thing, tears streaming. They're hugging me, bear hugging me. Security's behind me. I'm like,
that's terrifying, okay. Bro. Wow, that's terrifying.
Oh yeah. But to see that they just wanted to be heard,
for sure.
And it's a lot of times they're shunned in society. They're put to the side, and you give them that grace. You're there with them, and you show that authenticity, and you just break that layers. You break that, those generational curses or whatever they are, like that are just been on them, and then you can see them start to grow. Yeah. And that is beautiful. So I've seen that's been quite a few times. I've seen some stuff like that as far as, interesting stories go. But
wow. Well, that was a good one. That's good.
Yeah.
COVID-19, that was a rough time. Mm-hmm. You said you transitioned, so you don't currently work as an RN anymore, correct?
I've just recently stepped away.
How recent?
Like within the last month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I might get back into it. I did some teaching for a while too, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just as like a clinical lab instructor, which was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
love teaching. I think that's
Oh,
might
clinical
You
labs.
could, you'd be
Where
great
at?
with it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, at University of Windsor. I did that, yeah.
Oh,
At the
okay.
St. Clair College campus, yeah, which is great. They have a beautiful facility. That's the one they built when we first started.
Okay.
Yeah. And what do you think about that? Like what do you think about the collaborative program?
You were a part of that, right? You started off at the
yeah.
college and then transitioned. I love it.
Me too.
I honestly started off at the university.
Yep.
And, once you hit third year, the college and the university combine and you just meet new people. Yeah. And I enjoy it, honestly. Like you're one of the individuals that I met as well too. Yeah. But I think it's genius, honestly speaking. Yeah. And for me, actually, I did work a little bit at St. Clair College as a OSCE patient.
Oh, nice.
I think I talked about it on an episode, right?
You did, yeah.
I was a patient, and just seeing how nervous these individuals were during their OSCEs, where they get a specific scenario, whether it's lung, heart, neuro exam, whatever the case may be. The cold and clammy hands on your skin. They're checking your pulse. Yeah. Just nervous. But if there's one advice I could give them, is just take your time. It's not the end of the world if you fail, but just do your best. Honestly.
Absolutely. Isn't it interesting being on the opposite end? Like, I remember I got PTSD when you mentioned OSCE. I was like, oh.
yeah. You just get
that. Yeah.
No, I mean, it was very interesting to see. And I was in their shoes at one point as well, too, right? Mm-hmm. And, I give them some hints like, oh, my neck. Oh, shoot, yeah. So I'm going to check your carotid. Yeah, you got it.
That's great.
To the point where the professor would be like, yeah, Junior, don't give them any more hints. They got to learn on their own. But I was in their shoes. I gotta help all my people. So
you have the sympathy, you have the empathy from
exactly.
I feel you.
But going back, COVID-19, how was that time for you as a nurse? How was that, that tough time for you?
That was quite intense. That was
Where were you? Like, where were you working at the time?
In the States?
Yeah,
or?
so I was. It was interesting. I had taken a little bit of time off which is the first time I was able to for school. I knew the program. The program I just completed in osteopathy, very heavy program. It's like med school. Like, you really have to be like honed in. So there was a couple of years I did take off for that, and that happened to line up right at COVID. It was kind of weird how it happened, and I had just moved back in with my family too to help. They said just for school purposes and all that stuff, and so it was interesting. I had a lot of friends go through that, but I wasn't directly involved, but I was hearing everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. And, I had family members who got sick. I had things going on with that. So, and I was taking care of them at home too. So I was in some aspect, and it wasn't until about my third year where I went back into nursing, but that was when everything kind of started changing again.
Right. Yeah.
Still, there was restrictions. Still, you had to wear PPE, all that stuff. But it wasn't as intense as some of the people who were like right there at the beginning. But it kind of,
I feel like that for you, I mean, and I don't know obviously the full details of everything, but almost school-wise, a blessing in disguise. Like, you were able to take time off and just focus on what you had to do. Because I feel like, for me at least, and I lived overseas, but it was this moment where it's like I've never worked more in my life. So I could only imagine being in such an intense program. Yeah. It would have been so difficult.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for your program, were you guys in class or at school?
So the first
or in class or online?
Oh, yeah. The first part of it transitioned online, which was very interesting because it's a very manual, hands-on type of thing. And the professors, they're amazing. They did an amazing job. I still learned so much, but it was so funny. The first day I actually got to go to the school, and you actually, you work on each other. Like, you put your hands on a body, and you're like, or someone does, like, most importantly, when someone does a certain assessment to you, and you're like, oh, that's how that feels. That's how much pressure. Oh, I'm using too much pressure. Or I'm not using enough pressure. Like, that changed everything. And then, but they were so graceful with us, and they worked so hard to make sure we got the education we need. So they made up for the time we lost. They had extra things to go to. They extended the hours for us. So we got really well trained. And, I thank Robert Johnson for that, because he's an amazing man, amazing professor, amazing osteopath. I'd say one of the best in the world, in my opinion. So to have him, and that's the thing, you don't usually see principals teaching like that, but he gets right in with you. He's right there. Awesome. We would all gather around him, and he just, share his wealth of knowledge with us. And to this day, I'm grateful for that, and I'll always be thankful to him for it. And for spreading that gift. And I hope I can, kind of carry that flame forward too, and help the best I can. So, but yeah, it was interesting times. I still recently, I think I pulled out an old jacket and I found a mask. I'm like, whoa, what is like, it's so interesting. Like, but what about you guys? Like, what was your experience like with that?
So for me, it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Death almost every day. I was in Detroit.
Yeah.
And from there, I transitioned over into travel nursing, as some people may know through previous episodes. And it was more death on top of death. Like, I'm seeing bodies, whether it's in a truck, because the morgue is just completely filled up. Yeah. Family members, it was a wild time. But around that period, a lot of individuals were leaving the profession at an exponential rate. Whether you're elderly, young, middle age, didn't matter. They were quitting. Yeah. And it created this gap in the profession where it couldn't be filled right away. So out in the States, they were paying X amount of dollars just to recruit nurses from all around the world just to help out with what was going on. Yeah. But it was tough. It was a tough time for sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, man.
It's not easy, man.
How about you, man?
It was an interesting time for a few reasons. So Ange and I had actually moved to Australia right before the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was both of our, she's lived away from her family, but it was the first time I didn't live in the same city as my family, which wasn't difficult until the pandemic hit, because a few members of my family got really sick. A couple had to go to the hospital.
I'm sorry.
So the pandemic was a lot of personal growth for me, because I had gotten like my first anxiety attack, because me and my family were all very close and tight knit. So I kind of got to feel that and how I could cope with these things and cope with other things. And professionally, it was amazing. I made a lot of money during the pandemic. Yeah. So professionally it was great, but from a personal standpoint, there was a lot of growth. A lot of things I'd gone through I never thought I'd go through, but was great to go through because I could see how I adapt to these situations. For sure. But all up, I honestly see it as a blessing. For sure. Honestly, I know it's crazy because for a lot of people there was a lot of misery. Yeah. But I think from my misery came a lot of learning, so that's where I think I take that as a blessing.
Yeah, no, for sure. What would you guys say was, like, each of you, what was the biggest thing you learned about yourself through that process?
That's very interesting. I think through that process, I've always thought of myself as a very strong mentally person. I think that process showed me I could crack easier than I expected. Yep. So again, that's just where I'm like, okay, this is a good thing. It means I have a lot of space to grow. Yeah. So that's a big thing that it showed me. Yeah, for sure.
I would say the same thing. Mentally, I thought I was mentally strong. But being away from family for X amount of months, because I did travel nursing for total about 3 years, but during the pandemic, it was maybe about a year and some change. I realized, like, damn, family is very important. Very, very important. Like, I've been away from my mom, but not to the point where I could potentially get sick and pass away and not have her by my side. Same with, like, my little brother. So I think that was the key thing. And also keeping in touch with friends, checking in on them on a, whether it's not a daily basis, but like a weekly basis. Even friends from back in the day, high school, elementary school, always checking in. How's the family? How's everything? Because a lot of my friends, not a lot, but a few of my friends from the past, their families have got affected by COVID, like, exponentially, whether it's grandparents, mothers, fathers, you name it. So always checking in on them, friends, families, make a good effort on a daily or weekly basis. So I think those are the two things.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that with me, guys. Thank
you. No.
And you know what? I found the pandemic so interesting because I found it was like these weird stages, especially early on, where very early on, it was like people were almost happy because it was like we get to get work off for this month and a half, and everyone's like binging shows and having parties and doing all these things. And then I feel like it got dark very quickly, not only because we were seeing so many people admitted to hospitals, healthcare workers are struggling, especially when we're all in the profession, and you start seeing this mental health aspect of people turning. It went from like this high happiness that, okay, I get some time off work to relax, to like, wow, my mental health is struggling almost very quickly. And it came with these like weird seasons, and then the government's like close shutting down and opening back up, and then it was just, I think it was interesting to see that. But what was nice is, I think a lot of people, like Junior said, was you learn to really check in on your friends. Yes. Like, we have time to check in on each other. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's make sure it's not just like, hey, how are you doing? Good. It's like, no, how are you really doing? Like, let's talk about this. We got the time to do it. Yeah. You know, so I think that was a cool thing the pandemic showed us.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of people turn that negative into a positive at some point down the line. I know with my younger brother, he plays basketball, and I know he was really gunning to go Division I. Yeah. So that summer when the pandemic happened, it was supposed to be a big summer for him, and he got invited to a Nike camp. That Nike camp, if he had performed well, who knows how many Division I offers he would have gotten. But that camp didn't happen, and that kind of pushed him to do a 5th year in school out in California. Everything worked well, honestly speaking. He's playing Division II. Nice. He's stronger, taller. Like, he's actually doing extremely well out there. But there are other kids out there that were in his same position. I don't know what they're doing, but who's to say if they didn't have the support system to help them navigate through that tough time. You feel what I'm saying? So there's situations like that. How many people lost jobs? That's another thing. They shut, like you were saying, 1 week it's open, next month it's closed. Yeah. And then the same thing over and over again. You can't fly. Like, how many jobs were lost? People were working remotely, or not remotely, but they were traveling to this location, that location, and then coming back home. Oh, that's completely shut down now. Yeah. You most likely lost your job because of that. So, yeah, the pandemic was a crazy time. One thing is, in 60, 70 years from now, they're going to teach about this in elementary school, high school. Sure. And some of those kids are going to be like, what? They shut down the world? Like, you couldn't go outside?
How's that even possible?
How's that possible? They make you take a vaccine? Yeah. The vaccine was given and y'all were still shut down? Like, what the hell's going on? You couldn't go to Wonderland? Yeah. Disney World? like yeah, that's what they're going to teach in school 50, 60 years from now, and they're going to be shocked. They're going to be so confused, but it was a real thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I do have a question. During the pandemic, how did that affect your rap career?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, let's get into that.
Oh, goodness. Not many people know about that part, but yeah, there's that's funny. That was during nursing school that developed. Yeah. Okay. So, like, you know, I'm very eclectic with music. Okay. I love all music. Like, I love country, I love rock and roll, alternative, hip hop. Like, I grew up with hip hop primarily. And, you know, I would just listen to, like, songs and I would just start, like, joke just for fun, like, rapping over, like, the thing. And one day I was in the shower and I said something. I'm like, ha ha ha. I'm like, wait, that didn't actually sound horrible. I remember getting out of the shower. I got to write this down. So I got out and
That's so funny.
Oh, yeah. I got out and I'm like, I found a book and I'm, like, dripping wet. I'm writing down. I got, like, droplets on the page. And then I couldn't stop writing. It just kept coming and coming. And this was, like, in the middle of nursing school. So I don't know if you guys remember that song. Like, it was really big on TikTok. It's like, I'm coming in hot. Like, you know,
of course.
Yeah. So the artist's name was Andy Mineo. Really good rapper. And I followed him at the time. And he had put out a contest called Bring the Beat Contest. Okay. And he, mind you, no one knows that I was, like, writing, like, tons of rap lyrics. I had my little journal and everything. Yeah. I'm in the middle of nursing school doing night, like, clinicals and all this stuff. So he puts out this Bring the Beat Contest. He's like, hey, this is my new song. This is the beat. He's like, you make lyrics to this.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, you make lyrics. He's like, and you make a video, and we're going to vote. Whoever wins gets to open for me in Cincinnati, Ohio, in front of, I think it was like 5,000 people. I forget how many people. It was a lot of people. Yeah. I'm like, let me do it. Let me just try, whatever. Yeah. So I wrote the song in like less than 10 minutes. And then I called a few friends of mine who were musicians, and someone did videography, and they're like, Tony, you rap? What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, guys. And like, okay, let's do it. We had less than 3 days. We made the video. We submitted it. I'm like, okay, God, like, it's in your hands now. Yeah. And there was 16 other rappers from the States, all very talented. And thank God I won the contest.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
That's crazy. Wait, so did you go open for him?
I did.
What?
I finished a midnight clinical, and then me and my buddies, we hopped in the car, drove to Cincinnati. I show up. I'm at the back. The bouncer's there. He's like, oh, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here, I'm performing. He's like, are you playing guitar or something? And I'm like, no. I'm like, he's like, oh, you're the guy who's in the contest. So I'm like in the back and I'm praying. I'm focusing my energy. I'm like, okay, let's just like turn this fear into fuel and let's use it as gasoline.
Yeah.
I get out. It was amazing. We rocked the show. Everyone's on their feet, jumping, clapping.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I opened up for him, and it was an amazing experience. A little 15 minutes of fame. And after that, I'm like, Mom, I want to be a rapper. She's like, you're finishing school. I'm like, yeah. And it's like, so I've been writing like for fun ever since. And then I transitioned into singing. It was kind of another thing. I'm like, I can't sing. And then I practiced. And then one day, I'm like, oh, that's not horrible.
Yeah.
And now I make songs for fun. And
Wow.
I had to put a little pause in it, but I'm getting back into it now. I'm actually meeting with my producer again this week.
Hey,
They
let's
really
go.
get things lit up again. And
So are you going to be singing, rapping?
probably
what are you
both.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm trying to find like, it's nice. The cool thing about, I had to drive to Hamilton every month for like at least a week or two at a time during school.
Yeah.
And that was every month straight for 4 years. Like there's no break.
Crazy.
So this program is intense. So 3 hours there, 3 hours back to Hamilton. I'm practicing, I'm singing, I'm making lyrics, I'm still doing my art, but it's just been kind of like lying dormant. It's still there, but it's ready. So I'm gonna be coming out soon, hopefully, with some pretty cool stuff.
Your mom can't stop you now.
No,
Mom, it was your fault that he's not an international sensation right now.
I love you, Mom. I'm loving you, Mom. I'm sorry. Thank you. You helped develop me in my career, but the next step.
But you halted him from making millions. Just know that.
Oh my god,
yeah, that's funny. That's awesome though, man.
Thank you.
Wow, this is actually really exciting. Because I remember this contest.
You do, nice.
I do. As you're explaining it, I'm like, I actually remember this.
That's awesome.
And I just didn't know someone from Windsor won.
Yeah.
I never. I don't remember hearing a winner or anything, but I remember the contest.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, it's great. He's a great artist. And Lecrae, if you've heard of Lecrae, he's an amazing artist.
Huge Christian artist too.
He's got a really good podcast I heard too. But yeah, it's just phenomenal artists, and I was just honored to be part of that.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can get back into something. At the end of the day, it's like I do it for fun. It's therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
If it reaches some people, it helps some people. Great. I performed for the Canadian Mental Health Association during Suicide Awareness Month. I wrote a song for that, and I got to perform there. And I was about to do a couple more performances, but it also was kind of before COVID hit, so I kind of like put on the back burner. But you know what? It's just an art. Like I think everyone in some way has to find an art that they love.
Yeah.
It could be bird watching, it could be painting, it could be singing, whatever it is. It's just I think everyone has to everyone has a creative side of them. They just maybe haven't discovered it yet.
Right.
But I would encourage people to try things.
Yeah.
See what you like. Maybe you won't like it, maybe you will, but you won't know until you try.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. So with the music, tell us. So when you go into work, or back then clinical, whatever the case may be, what was that one song that you played in the car to get you ready for that shift? I'm trying to get in the mind of Tony right now.
Yeah, that one track.
Oof. There's several, my friend.
What gets you amped up?
It all depends. It's interesting because like going home from a midnight shift, I always put on like Breaking Benjamin, which is like more like alternative, kind of like more rock style because it keeps me awake.
Right.
It also kind of gets me pumped. Going into the shift, I try to listen to kind of calm music. I really do like pop and stuff. So I really enjoy The Weeknd.
Okay.
I'll listen to The Weeknd. There's like Lauv. I listen to Lauv. Even Justin Bieber. I like Justin Bieber. Like Justin Bieber's got some great songs.
He does.
It's pretty eclectic. Eminem. I listen to Eminem. He's great. I love him.
Shout out 7 Mile. Or it's 8 Mile, but he lives at 7.
We're neighbors.
Yeah, neighbors. Exactly.
That's funny.
what's up.
What an amazing artist. That he inspired. I remember being home as a kid when I remember the old cassette players,
Of course.
And I couldn't afford, and I apologize. Now I buy all my music. I'm just letting you know. So all of your other albums, Eminem, I purchased. I've paid my dues, but there was a time where I would rush home from school and I'd be listening to the radio and I'm like, oh, I gotta get that new Eminem song, and I'd be like, wait, I'm like, oh, and I'm like, DJ, shut up! I don't know what you're talking. I'm listening to Eminem, and I would record it, and I would just walk around with my Walkman, and I just feel like
that's so
$1 million
funny.
bucks. So that him and Tupac are like huge inspiration. Kendrick Lamar, obviously, huge inspirations. I love their music. So yeah, those if I really want to get amped, I'll listen to some Kendrick Lamar. Eminem. So
do you have any of your own music recorded?
I do.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to your own music as well, like when you're just driving in the car?
I guess kind of talking about what we talked about. What did we learn during the pandemic? And the biggest thing for me was about enjoying the present moment, really being it, because we don't have tomorrow. Tomorrow is it's not guaranteed. So it taught me how to be present where I'm at, make the best of what's going on. Like even just living at home with my family, I could have moved out, I could have lived on my own, but I said, I don't know how much longer I'm going to get to have with them.
For sure.
So I learned to make the best of it. And yeah, we can butt heads sometimes, but we love each other and they're great people. And so I really just like spent time with my family, my dog. And that's the thing. Like, I think the dogs and cats had the best deal with the pandemic, right?
For sure.
They're so happy to
love
have that.
all day long. They probably became people's like therapy animals at some point.
Oh, yeah. You know? Yeah. And they're just so happy to see you when you get home.
For
and,
sure.
Like, yeah. No matter what kind of day you're having, you feel good to see them. But yeah, I ended up, it encouraged me to write the song Finite, which is tell you just how finite things are around us, right? Like when we're younger, we can't wait to grow up. We can't wait to be older. We can't wait for time to pass. It's going too slow. But then when we get older, we want time to slow down.
Absolutely.
And we're like, oh man, no, I want to wait. Like the journey was the real joy, not always the destination. Like, yeah, the destination's awesome, but it's that journey through the good times, the bad times. That's when the real magic happens. So yeah, that song I still will replay every now and then, and it actually gets me like, yeah, it gets me in my feelings. Like I'm like, okay, that was probably one of my favorite ones. But
so now with that track, is there anywhere people can listen to it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's on Spotify. It's on all the music platforms,
Okay.
YouTube Music, Apple Music. Yeah, it's under Tony Ammoun.
Okay.
It's AMMOUN. Same with my Instagram and all that. And like I said, with the new clinic, it's Life to the Fullest Osteopathy and Wellness Clinic.
Yeah.
Life to the Fullest Osteopathy on Instagram or Facebook.
Okay.
And you can also, like, if you just go to unifiedhealthandwellness.com, you can book appointments with myself or one of the great massage therapists, chiropractor, social worker. Like, we got a wonderful team of amazing people. That's the other thing too. I'm so happy. I've worked with amazing people throughout my life. But you guys know in nursing too, like sometimes you can get into a toxic environment.
For sure.
You know, you can have a very hard job, but when the team is good,
it's smooth.
Oh man, it makes it worth it.
That's
like
it.
It's so smooth with a good team.
But then you can have not like maybe an easier job, but you have like one person like who's just, I don't know what it is. Like some people like just get miserable with life, or I don't know what it is, but they just like, it's tangible. You can cut the tension with a knife.
Oh, for sure.
And that just makes it horrible. But I'm very fortunate that at Unified Health and Wellness, the team is amazing. I've never seen such a positive group of people. They're so helpful. We're all very patient-centered focused. We want people to get better. We want people to help, to the point where I'm like, even for myself, I said, listen, my goal, the reason I got into this is to help you. And if I can't help you, I'm going to find someone who can help you.
Beautiful.
You know, I humble myself enough to say, some things maybe I'm not gonna be able to help you. I'm gonna make sure you get that help, because that's what I want at the end of it. That's what I would want for someone to do for me and my family. For sure. So yeah, but yeah, it's everything in life is inspired my music, and now we're getting into there's gonna be some cool stuff coming out soon. So
Lovely.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up with this last question, or did you have another one?
No, that was me. Yeah.
So, last question: if you can go back in time and tell your younger self one thing, one advice, whether it's about the profession of nursing or just life in general, what would that be?
It would be to be present in each moment. Don't worry so much about everything. Everything's going to work out. Try things. Even if you suck at it, try it. Have fun. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter at all what anyone else thinks.
So true.
Find what makes you come alive and do it. And ironically, when you do it, you pave the path. It inspires others who have been hiding to want to do that.
Absolutely.
To also do the same thing.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to love what you love. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
That's deep. I love that.
That's a great answer.
And we'll wrap it up at that. That's episode 16, Scrub Me in Nursing Podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all that. Tell a friend. Tony, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Junior, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Apple Music, Spotify,
yes.
Tony Ammoun.
Anthony,
thank you so much.
That's double M, AMMOUN, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, we need to listen to some of those tracks.
I'm going to listen to Finite right after this.
Yes.
Cry a little bit,
For sure.
All right,
and that's the episode.
Thank you.
Peace.